And that was the moment. That was the wake-up call. I realized that I'm gonna fucking die if I don't make a change. If I don't start listening to my body, if I don't start channeling it into fuck you feel, whatever it is.
It's probably a very familiar story to you, is it?
Alcoholism.
No.
What?
People transforming their lives with fitness, man.
Oh yes, completely. I thought that's priceless. I thought that's what you said to me. I don't have a liquor store. Jesus, that's what I was thinking. I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, my mum's gonna be watching this. Like,
we come from this really heartfelt story now. A bunch of laughs, man. That really sums it up.
I want to ask you both to just kind of take a moment and go back to the day you decided to drop out of school and what that meant to you, what your life looked like. A lot of people that started to resonate with this journey. So many people I'm finding have dreams. You'll notice I wear a Ganesha icon around my neck. Yeah. Ganesha, the story of Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. Now, I was raised Catholic. Both these guys are Catholic. I identify just as multi-spiritual. I won't get into my beliefs, but they're very different. They're very vast. But Ganesha resonates with me because it's been the remover of obstacles is the story. And in my life, that's what I've been for other people without knowing it. You know, I've had about a dozen near-death experiences, and every random, crazy, massive thing that I've survived. I was telling him earlier, I used to own a Subway franchise that came to a screeching halt on one of the worst days of my life. Ironically, my wife's birthday. Didn't know her yet.
Whoa.
This morning, I got up. I thought I was going to have a great day. I had a real estate closing, and so I put my suit on, hopped on my Harley, and I go to my office, which is on a hill here. And now, the road veers down this way, and straight ahead, a block away, is my Subway restaurant. It's on a pedestrian mall, the Ithaca Commons. I turn right, and I'm supposed to head to Mazda Law office and drop off closing paperwork. Only thing was I hit a patch of oil on the pavement, and I totaled my motorcycle. I get up, trying to get out of the road, because quite frankly, I was fortunate that there was a bus here, a car here. It could have gone way different, this accident. And I actually rode the bike home shakily. And I'm all freaked out, I'm bleeding. And halfway there, my phone starts ringing, vibrating. You know how you get irrational about things that like people, how the fuck nobody knows.
Yeah.
And, but still, it's their fault to me. And then when I get home, I see it's my store manager. And I answer the phone, hellfire and brimstone, like, what? Do you know what I've been through? And then I hear the sirens. And he's like, boss, I don't know what just happened. I think a bomb went off. The whole building filled with smoke.
Wow.
He's like, you got to get over here right now. He's like, we got to close. And I remember my first reaction was like, you are not fucking closing no matter what. At this point, we were $200K in debt. It was, I had a terrible experience as a franchisee with Subway. But what happened was that a truck carrying a tractor trailer full of vehicles lost its brakes coming down this hill and smashed into Simeon's, the restaurant next door. It actually pinned a pregnant waitress to the wall. And as a result, the city had to cut the power. This was relative because it was a Friday and we had just gotten our food delivery. And so cutting the power, I lost all my inventory. And I'll never forget it because I got in my car and I'm still bleeding, and I drive back. And when I get there, I see this truck sitting out the side of the building. And what I noticed was this one kid, I won't reveal names, but he was her fiance, and he was holding her hand as she was pinned to the wall with the life draining out of her, including his baby. And I remember I went in one moment from feeling sorry for myself to just like this sobering reality of just how significant and how insignificant the bullshit is.
Yeah.
All that mattered to me was the money that I was going to lose in Subway. And in that moment, you realize that, fuck if none of that matters.
Yeah.
But anyway, take me back to what made you guys decide to drop out of school and why Spain? And To me, the fact that y'all just went somewhere else is mind blowing.
I have a bit of a different story actually. So he got as far as college. I didn't even get as far as college, right? Because he's a year older than me, and in Ireland the school system is a bit weird. It's like first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year. Sixth year is like the final year of high school, I suppose you'd call it, and then you go into university from there. So Gavin proceeded with university whilst I was in sixth year, if that makes sense. So I was in my final year of school, and like I knew from my last 3 years in school, I knew that, you know, school wasn't for me. The education system, it didn't align with what I wanted out of life. I always kind of knew from a young age
I love that.
what I wanted, you know. And my mum, I used to always be annoying her. Sorry, mum, if you're watching this. But I used to always be annoying my mum. Like, mum, I'm not finishing school. I'm dropping out. You know, this is a waste of my time. I always knew that it was something that didn't align with what I wanted to do, basically. And my mum said to me, she was like, look, Sean, you don't have to go to university, but as long as you just finish school, she said, we'll be happy. So I said, fine. So that's what made me stick out to school. And the second I was done school, I was like, yes, you know, now I can really focus on what I want to do. I can build, I can meet new people, you know, I can network. I have so much time to do what I actually want to do rather than sitting in a classroom for 8 hours per day. So, I mean, I didn't even get as far as university. I just finished school, got my leaving cert. What would that be called in America, the leaving cert?
SATs, I think. Yeah.
The SATs.
It means a lot more. We don't have continuous assessment. We just have one exam. That's it.
I see.
So got that done, and my parents were happy. So
at that point, were you doing any fitness stuff already? Were you had already built a following? Like what was going on in your life?
So in the background, I was always building. So from the age of about 14, 15, that's how I started off with all this in the first place. So I didn't want anyone to know that I was doing social media at the time, because in the background, since the age of 10, I've been making YouTube videos, and no one knew that I was really doing it. And when they found out, I got bullied terribly for that.
Oh my God.
You know? So that's kind of what scared me and pushed me back from starting fitness and making fitness content at an even younger age. But I started posting on basically an anonymous account at the age of in around 14, I would say. No one knew it was me. Then what happened was COVID hit, okay? And obviously we were in lockdown, and I said to myself, you know what? This is motivation, because I'm not going to be seeing anyone. We're all in lockdown. By the time this lockdown is over, if I fail at this social media stuff, I'm going to get bullied. So that was my motivation to drive me on to succeed. So by the time that the schools opened up and things started somewhat opening up again, went back to school, and I had about 10,000 followers built up at that point. And then people, of course, they were going to chat shit, but they couldn't really say anything because I was making something of myself. And from there, I just started to build on that. TikTok started to blow up, my YouTube started to go viral. And before I knew it, no one really had anything to say anymore, and I just continued to build that throughout my school years then.
Wow.
Yeah, for me, I was similar enough to Sean. I never really took to school naturally. I was never like much of a natural academic, never really had fantastic grades in school, and for a lot of my time in school, I never even wanted to go to university either. And it was, you know, a breakup I went through when I was about 17, and I needed to channel my energy into something. And
With
for
breakup, you mean like with a girlfriend, or?
Yeah, when broke up with, my girlfriend broke up with me when I was 17, and it really hit me hard, and I needed to channel my energy into something. What I ended up channeling it into was school and my grades. And you know, luckily enough, the leaving cert that we do in Ireland is very linear. If you put in the work, you're going to get results, and I worked my ass off for that year, and still to this day, you know, getting those results is one of the best feelings I ever had. You know, not because it brought me to university or whatever, that's all irrelevant now. It was just the fact that I had this image in my head, and I told myself I was not an academic. I told myself this wasn't for me, and I proved myself wrong. I proved those around me wrong. Now, while I was doing that, my dream was to go and study business and Spanish in UCD, which is one of the bigger colleges in Ireland. To put this into perspective, I ended up missing that course by 3 marks on one exam.
Oof.
That was it. So that's another bit of maybe divine intervention.
What was the pre-existing interest in Spain? Just curious.
I always took to Spanish as a language. I love languages. I think, you know, come back to me in 10 years, I'll have 4 or 5 languages under my belt.
Nice.
So yeah, I was always interested in Spanish. I wanted to do business in Spain. I love Spain. You know, that's part of why we went there. And yeah,
what year was that?
This was 2021 when I finished school, so 3 years ago now. So that's I ended up missing that course by 3 marks on one exam. Went to university anyway, went to the same university, did a different degree, and from day one I was kind of running away from it. I really, really, really didn't like it, and I lied to my mom and said I loved it, and tipped over for a while, and I was forced into it at the end. I'd love to say there was this day where the business took off and I left college that day, but that's not what happened. I failed an exam and had to repeat it, and I was on the road to repeating it, and I was going to fail it again. I was going to fail the year. So then I thought there was just no point in finishing off the year. I might as well leave, do the best I possibly can with this hair care business, and see where it goes. At that point, I'd already been doing it for 2 years, but it was very, very steady. I didn't have the focus that I needed for it. And dropping out of university really gave me that. And the day I did, my mom was so disappointed. She called me. I was in the gym. She was, I wouldn't say she was screaming down the phone, but she was like, come on, you love UCD, don't leave. And I told her that I was going to just go for, I was going to go back the next year. And that was the idea for the longest time. Kept working away at the hairstyling products, and I had this goal in my head that I had a financial goal. And I said, if I hit that mark, I'm not going back. And I'm pretty sure I hit it maybe like a week or two before the offers came out for the next year.
Wow.
So at that point, my mom had seen me working really hard over the last 6 months. About 6 months had passed between when I left and when the offers for the next year came out. And she was then 100% supportive. And that day that I left, and she told me no, not to leave. My dad actually ended up taking me out for a beer. My dad's an entrepreneur as well. He left school at 16, and he said, I'm proud of you. This is what you should be doing. So.
Wow, that's it's amazing how different people's experiences can be based on the environment. How some people's parents. The truth is, some people's parents think they got it all figured out, and so the moment the kid shows something different, the parents, the arrogance of the parents step in, and they think, no, I got to show you something. Meanwhile, the kid could be Da Vinci. And in other cases, it's so rare. Actually, if I'm being dead honest with you, I almost never hear that where the parent, it's like, yeah, take that gamble. Chase your dream, and it's sad that you don't hear it more.
And the thing is, though, it is sad, but I do think it comes from a good place of trying to protect our child.
Always.
Always.
I don't think the parents are out there, in some cases.
Yeah.
But in general, it comes from a place of love, but the effect can be different. And you know what? In some circumstances, they may be saving a kid from making the worst mistake of their life. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's all, we're 3 guys who it worked out for.
Yeah.
What's interesting listening to both of you, and I actually just learned this from the both of you, my story was completely different. From day one, man, I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had everything planned out. I went from a guy who was an obsessive planner to a guy who plans not to plan. I plan to adapt. I look at circumstances and understanding that there's going to be variables. I try and plug myself in the middle and do not think it further than that intentionally. Because shit never goes according to plan for me. And so the moment that I started having fun with that, that was one of those big game changers. What's funny about Spain is I went to Spain. I did a year abroad in Spain in 2003, which was a terrible time for an American to be over there. This was, at the time, what was going on in the world. 9/11 had just gone down. And the U.S. had pretty much pointed the finger at Iraq, saying they were harboring Al-Qaeda, and used it as a mechanism to invade Iraq. The president of Spain at the time was named Aznar. And President Aznar was backing Bush. But the people of Spain were against it. Now, I had never seen uniformity like this, but wrap your head around this. Public school was let out early on a daily basis for organized protests against the president. Never in my life. I still, but being over there at that time, I get terrorized a bit. At one point, some kids were throwing rocks at me at the beach. I was with this German girl. We were laying on the beach, and I hear them yell down and barely understood what they were saying. It was real broken English. And he basically said, "Hey, I fucked your mother." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And then I, kind of just waved it off. And what you don't realize is that you can spot an American a mile away.
Yeah.
A mile away. And I didn't know this yet because I hadn't really spent time out of the country. But next thing I know, I hear these pelts. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I realized they're throwing rocks at me. I'm like, Jesus, crazy bastard. So I go running up to give chase, and there's like this thing here and the road's up here. And right about the time I got halfway up on all fours, I heard a loud bang and then and they had thrown down a coral rock about that big. It bounced and hit Ellie in the head. Had it hit her directly, it would have killed her. It was the first time in my life. Now, me and this other American kid, Matt, we chased these kids down, and got a hard lesson that we didn't have no rights. When we thought we were going to take them to jail or whatever like that. We got our asses kicked. Crazy story. But going back to the moment of starting these companies and whatnot, when I went to school, I went to Ithaca College, went to the Park School of Communication, which is a great school. They got this program. You spend half the time in Ithaca, and then the second half you go to LA, usually making great connections. Some of the people I graduated with, one guy I always see, Claire Popkin, so proud of him. I saw him at the Oscars not too long ago. He was a cinematographer on the film Solo, and I remember freshman year we were both exploratory. So when I knew I was good at writing, and so I thought script writing. Maybe I could transfer that in. And Cine Prod 1, the first class where everybody makes anything, general rule of thumb is that it's all gonna be shit. Everybody's gonna think it's awesome and it's all gonna be shit. Well, that was the case except for one kid in class, Joe Zohar. Joe made something damn good. And I was like, shit. And in that moment I realized I don't got it. I don't got that magic, but he does. Maybe I can just kind of help him do what he does. And Joe and I got to talking. He had sunk like his savings into a camera. I think at the time it was like, what was it, a Sony? That was before the XLs. It was before the XLs. I mean, this is like '04. So all the gear is completely different. And what I had just gotten my student loan money. And so I basically doubled down, gambled my student loan money. We used that to buy some more gear, some computer equipment, form an LLC under the auspice that, if we had formed a legal entity, we would own the content we made. Otherwise, Ithaca College would own it all. You're using their gear, you're using so forth. And that started my first company. Problem was, sophomore year, my life changed on a dime when I got my girlfriend at the time pregnant. And I had this was like my first weird religious thing. I was raised Catholic, but I remember that my immediate reaction was let's get an abortion, And then something happened. I was in Joe's apartment in Grandview, where we started Moving Box Studios, and I had bought a house maybe 10 miles away. This was like a theme in my family. My older brother led the way for this freshman year. He was like, buy a house, rent out the rooms, pay the mortgage off, screw room and board, screw paying a dorm or whatever. And so, I kind of did the same thing. But I walked from Joe's place to my house and back, which had to be almost 20 miles, and I hardly remember the damn thing, at all. And when I got back, I was just determined that, no, this was out of our hands. This is in God's hands. That, I can't do that as much as I wanted to. And so it ended up flipping, and I ended up convincing her that we needed to keep it. And the universe works in mysterious ways. She had a miscarriage, and she had a miscarriage days after the deadline had passed to where I could re-enroll, making my student loans due and payable, and I was no longer eligible for them. My family's financial circumstances were tight. I'll never forget, I walked into the bursar's office at Ithaca College crying my fucking eyes out, asking if there was anything that they could do. And the woman, some people just don't know what they're saying. Some people are just kind of mechanical. And I've met more of them, and over the years I've come to terms with what this woman said to me. But she looked me dead in the eyes and she goes, it's really a shame you lost that baby. We could have done a lot for you, but since you lost the baby, there's nothing we can do. Boom, my eyes almost blew out of my fucking head, and I'm lucky I didn't get arrested.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, and it's interesting the different paths we go down.
Definitely.
So I went from, that's where I swing, that's where all of a sudden I realized wasn't going to be all these plans that I had, The phrase comes to mind, God laughs when man plans. And it was a hard lesson learned.
That's very true.
That's the thing. I think that if people didn't go through these bad experiences, whether that be heartbreak, whether that be your business failing, whether that be people snaking you, stabbing you in the back, like, this is all the shit that makes you grow as a person. I mean, like, it's all well and good to wake up every single day and, be grateful for the times that you have in Bali and go riding on your motorbikes. I was saying this to Gavin last night, actually. It's so easy to wake up every day and just live such a normal, such a fun, easy life. But like I was saying to Gav, that's not when you grow as a person. You grow like you grow spiritually, emotionally, you grow in every other way when you're going through these bad situations, when these bad things happen to you, when you get your heart broken, when your business fails. This is the shit that forms you as a man. This is like the stuff that's going to make you the person that your kids are going to look up to, and you're going to be the person that has all these lessons to teach your kids. You know what I mean? So like all this shit, it just happens for a reason. Like, you're here on a podcast years later talking about that, and there's gonna be someone out there listening that can relate with you, resonate with you, and learn from you. It's crazy how it works.
One of the phrases you'll notice, I got writing all over my arm, and people ask me all the time what it is. I owe this my business partner George Figueroa. He's fortunately or unfortunately had to see how far I swing. Now, I struggle with depression. I always have struggled with depression. I'll swing from. Full disclosure, 2 years ago, I was suicidal. 2 years ago, I was dealing with some dark circumstances that were more than my body, my mind, and my soul could handle. It's how I ended up in Bali. And I guess the relevant factor in all that, I'm just going to say, is that today I'm living out my wildest dreams. And I wouldn't trade life with anybody. And I love myself more than I ever could have imagined. And it's just remarkable because my life didn't change. My perspective did. And then I changed everything. And with a simple shift of perspective, your entire life can change on a dime. And it's exactly why I started doing this show. Yeah. Because that transformation was so impactful, so powerful. And now, if there's anything I can do to give anyone on the planet just a feeling for what it feels like, for even just a second, for how I feel every damn day, oh man, every human being deserves that. And it's possible for every human being. It's just a matter of how we see the world in front of us.
And the thing is, people will see you now and where you're at and see how happy you are, but they won't see all the dark shit that you went through, all these things that you learned in these years for you to become the person that you are now. Yeah. That's the thing. People they don't look at that. They don't look at the bad. They just look at the good.
Yeah, that's true. And the bad is everything. And I mean, it's funny, even this show. So coming to Bali, I fell in love with this place. And immediately, I've got businesses back in the States. I've got a wife. I've got a daughter. I've got 2 Airbnbs. I got a house. I got a lot of weight that I carry on a daily basis. It causes me to live a life where there's not a whole lot of time to think about you. In order to fit my time for me, and I tend to wake up at 3, 4 a.m., go to the gym around that time, 2 hours or so, when there's nobody in there. And that's my form of meditation. By the time most people get up and have their morning coffee, I've gone to the gym, written, recorded, paid my bills, and I'm on to the next one. And that's kind of being my religion of how to just keep myself enthralled. Well, this show the formula's kind of become where, being a poet, I'd write a poem and that would be what inspired the episode. And so then I would make an episode and read the poem at the end. So about a year ago, I decided I was going to start making these videos because I had TikTok aspirations. Now, mind you, I'm a bit of a dinosaur by comparison. Facebook came out my freshman year of college, and I'll never forget it because everybody was talking about it, and I thought it was a physical fucking book. I kept looking for it. Yeah, I was like, how do I get the book? I want it. It was ridiculous. So the notion of just Instagram and YouTube and all this shit was like what you guys have already done so far. I'm looking at it and like it's amazing, it's amazing.
Thank you.
The scales are flipped on that, But so there's a learning curve, I guess. And anyway, I started making these edited videos where I would read the poem and have, B-roll footage, and I would just do the voiceover. And it was shit. It was shit. I couldn't get anybody to watch. I think the most views I got was like 1,000 on one of these things. And I brought my wife here for the first time to see. Basically, we started a real estate company here. You know, when I came here, fell in love with Bali, I knew the only way I'd be able to make it a part of my life was if I did something crazy. And met somebody who introduced me to somebody else, who introduced me to a landowner who was building a villa. I saw an opportunity in his son, because his son was about your age, was about to get married, about to have a kid.
Our age?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's young. He's young.
Wow.
And what I knew was that if I took care of this man's son, he'd take care of me. And you know, I've learned through life relationships can be everything. So I made a promise to him on that day that everything I did going forward, Bob would be my brother, and he'd be my right hand, my arms and legs here in Bali. And so he took a chance on me, and he made me the deal that I could afford. Truth is, I couldn't afford that damn deal. I couldn't afford to pass it up, but I couldn't afford that damn deal.
Yeah.
So immediately, in the spirit of manifestation, I went out on my scooter and I'm riding around trying to figure out in my head how the hell I'm going to pay for this. And I come across an art gallery here, and I mean, if you've ever been to Bali, there's art galleries everywhere. There's so much artwork, sculpture, craftsmanship of every facet that to somebody who comes from the West, you just lose your mind. You lose your mind if you're into stuff. So anyway, I end up, next thing I know, I'm in this art gallery, and the idea comes into mind that I'll start having paintings made and I'll sell them, you know. And so next thing I know, I'm negotiating a deal for custom original paintings that are going to be designed to my spec that I would take back to the States and sell in the States. And this was the first moment I had of clarity where I was like, oh my God, I can monetize my travel. So every time I come here, all I gotta do is buy shit that I can sell for more money back in the States, and then bring it back here and throw it into the villa and just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And in 2 years' time, Bali's given me so much. So I came back this time around because the villa's supposed to be done in a couple weeks. I need to get it furnished, need to get it Airbnb, need to get it making its own money. Well, the crazy shit was that, like I said, I quit the show in September. When I got back to the States, between September and December, I didn't write, I didn't record a thing. I fell into a depression. I lost it. I actually remember the moment sitting in the living room that I looked at my wife and I said, I can't keep doing this show. It's killing me. I'm pouring my heart and soul, and nobody's watching. I'm not. And of course, you overlook the fact that I did have a very small following, and every one of those people told me how life-changing the stuff was that they were getting from it. But it wasn't enough, you know. When I got back to Bali, took part in the yoga teacher certification again, raised the next round of teachers, and at the graduation, they brought in one of 3 Buddhist monks left on this island and a panel of Hindu priests, and they performed for us a fire purification ceremony. And fire purification ceremony involves you they give you a cup of rice, and as you're throwing the rice in the fire, you're releasing sort of bad juju, I guess, wishing for peace for different things, and then you have your own wishes. And at the time, I wished that I would find a way to make my podcast blow up and that I'd get to 1 million followers. Well, a few days later, I got inspired to write something. Of course, once I wrote something, I was like, let me make an episode. And then the idea popped into my head to do the thing that I'd been terrified to do all along, and actually put myself on camera. And so I made my first video where I just read, and got over 12,000 views, which for me was nuts.
Amazing.
So then I did it again, and that one got like 24,000, and the next one 80,000, and the next one 450,000. And it's been 10 days, guys. It's been 10 days since this happened, and went from 200 followers to 6,000 followers. And then I meet these 2 guys who I didn't even know, but I'm talking about this change, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to get to 10,000. And Gavin very casually goes, yeah, I remember when I got my first 10,000. It was a good feeling. I was like, oh my God.
It's the best. It's the best.
Just because I love producing content, helping other people for free, that's why I was doing it.
When money is your focus, even if you get it, it ain't the same thing. But I'll tell you what, the moment that I let go of that and I started focusing on that same thing,